Here he goes again. That's huge. That's on the roof.
Welcome to Dean at Stumps, the cricket encyclopedia.
The Sri Lankans are stunned. The Zimbabweans are jubilant. Look what that means to them. The first ever series victory against Sri Lanka.
Hello. Welcome to the Dean at Stumps podcast. Great to have you along. I'm Dean Duplessis. I do wish the dear gentleman would stop calling me the cricket encyclopedia, because like you, I'm just a very big cricket fan and cricket lover. Right, we got quite a big show, and so let's get straight into it, shall we? It's a long podcast, this one, so make sure you have a nice pot of tea or whatever it is that you prefer eating or drinking when listening to this one. First up, Tatenda Taibu is on the verge of releasing a book which is entitled Keeper of Faith. This is a biography, and it will be released on the 23rd of May of this year, obviously. So really something to look forward to. Well, Tatenda Taibu has certainly been shrouded in controversy. A lot of his career has been a very good one, but there's always been a few little interesting questions, hasn't there, as to some of the decisions that he has made. So, what about the book? Will there be any controversy in the book?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you've known me long enough to know that, I just say things as they are, whether it may be deemed dangerous or maybe unfair or, whatever, however it's deemed, when truth is truth. Whether other people accept it or don't accept it, it is the truth. It never changes. And the beauty about that, that part of my life is the story never changes. When I say something to you today, then, and you ask me then in the next 5 years, if it's the truth, it will remain the same story. So, and I've been happy to be a free man in that regard, that I don't have to wonder, if Dean asked me for an interview, what did I say last time? So that it coincides. But I know that I just say the truth. So whatever is the truth, you can say it out 30 more times. So what it is there's going to be a bit more revealing to the actual events that were transpiring. So a few names mentioned, and to give really a lot of flesh to what people would have read and heard about, say, in the newspaper, on radio, or whatever, because that's never really the full story. Because as a reporter, you always have a certain time. If it's 30 minutes, you can't cover everything in 30 minutes. So, but there is a lot more that will be happening, and the Keeper of Faith is going to be revealing all this.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to expect you to divulge too much, because that's what happens when you buy the book. But for the listener, just give them a bit of a teaser as to what truths will be revealed in Keeper of Faith. Just give us a little bit of how you walk into the kitchen and you sample a bit of meat from the chef's pot. That's, if you can do that, that would be great.
Okay, let me just maybe give a couple. People have said to me, or in the UK, that is, have said, Tatenda, you say, it comes out on media, on one media platform, that you missed your game because you went to a wrong venue. I said, how can that be possible? Because you would have been practicing with the team, and then all of a sudden, this comes out. How does that happen? So I said, that's one example of what I'm talking about. So when I was supposed to make my first class debut, I did not practice with the team. I wasn't told that I was playing. I only had a little memo from Stephen Mangongo, who at that time was the heading Takashinga. Yeah. So what really transpired with that is there in the book. My debut, my ODI debut, I read it in the paper that I was playing the day before the game. So these are some of the things I'll be explaining exactly what will be going on. I'll be giving detail to what transpired when it really got dangerous for us to be in the country, when we had to leave the country. when Loveness almost got kidnapped. People read about how dangerous it was, but I'm giving a bit more, flesh.
Yeah.
Yes, Loveness did almost get kidnapped. I'll be giving, a bit of that as well. There's also, the spiritual life. There was a story about Tatenda leaving cricket for, to become a pastor, which is not correct. However, there is that 3 years when I was away from cricket and what was going on in my spiritual life that, people will be very interested to know, because I know that I disappointed a lot of fans when I made that decision. But I'm sure after reading and understanding what was going on during that time, people will be very, will be more understanding.
Yeah. Do you regret those 3 years leaving? Do you think that maybe that was a bit hasty, or do you still have no regrets?
I do not have any regrets, Dean. I say it without regret again now that has given me a lot of purpose and it's explained a lot of things for me in life in general. When during that time I was involved in praying for the sick, praying for the hopeless and things like that. And then when you pray for someone that has lost hope, or when you start to speak to someone who has lost hope, and by God's grace, you are able to uplift such a one to a point where they start to have faith and then get healed. There is no joy. I can score, 100 hundreds. There is no joy that can fulfill a heart more than that for me. So I had several of such situations where I would, God would use me in a way to uplift someone, or to uplift someone who's sick and has got a rare disease and has been given up by the doctors because they can't perform the operation because of the low blood sugar and things like that. And then to know that you can still visit that same person today and they are well and healthy and happy, it fills my heart even now speaking about it. So that has given me a different perception of life than the one that I had.
You obviously came back and played a little bit of cricket in Sri Lanka and played a bit of first-class cricket there, got a half century, if I remember correctly. What was that like? I mean, that would have been totally different playing your cricket in Zimbabwe and then suddenly playing cricket, first-class cricket in Sri Lanka. Or was it actually any different? What was that experience like?
First of all, when you're a popular figure, it's very difficult to just make a decision and then just go with that decision without the world wanting to know, what this is all about. I found that part a little bit difficult because, that decision came by when I just wanted to show my boy that I can still play the game. So, after a conversation we had. However, to be honest with you, I found it fairly easy. The only thing that I failed to do was to convert, a lot of 30s and 40s into big hundreds, which never used to be a problem with me.
Yeah.
I did speak to Dave Houghton about it when I came back to the UK. And he said, Tatenda, it's amazing as it is that after 6 years, you found first-class cricket in the subcontinents, turning wickets and things like that, fairly easy. And he was giving me examples of people that have left, for 2 years or 3 years and struggled, to get back on their feet. Because, mind you, I wasn't playing any professional cricket. Only played, just 1 year of club cricket. So he said to find that fairly easy means that you are, it's a rare talent. And he said, well, don't worry about the, converting because it's probably just your mind or your body has forgotten how to do that. Once you get one like that, then it all comes back again. So, yeah, that's how it was.
So, is there possibilities? Are there possibilities? And I can see you already know what I'm going to ask you.
I know that.
If there were to be a bit of a shake-up, a break-up, and a remake-up in Zimbabwe cricket, would Tatenda Taibu once again be donning the gloves and representing, well, I suppose, first of all, first-class cricket, and then eventually the national. Is there a possibility of Tatenda Taibu once again playing international cricket for the country?
Dean, I'm sure you now understand why I hide away from you. You always have a way to try and pull my my plans ahead of time.
Just trying to rotate the strike.
Well, that's a good single there, Dean. To be honest, I didn't think about that when I was making the decision. I just wanted to give my boy a bit of an understanding of what his dad he has done in cricket, because I used to leave cricket at the ground, and I never used to bring cricket back home. So it was a big surprise for my boy to all of a sudden, we'll be walking in town and someone recognizes me in different countries. And so he always used to wonder why. So he knew that Dad was famous, but he never really knew what Dad was famous for. He knew Dad played cricket, whatever, but I never really brought cricket back home because I wanted them to know me as Dad and not to know me as superstar cricketer. And I'm glad that we, Loveness and I have managed to do that. Now, to come back to your question, Dean, I just thought of it that way and never thought of, representing my country again and things like that. Because, to be fair, there have been a lot of water that has gone under the bridge between myself and Zimbabwe cricket. And because of that, there are several barriers that if one is to start to think about, maybe playing international cricket again, there are a lot of barriers to think about. So I don't, because I just want to be a happy person. I understand that we're only here, but for a little while. And while I'm here, I want to, just enjoy myself and have a lovely time with my family. And so so because of that, I didn't entertain the thought, Dean, if I'm to answer your question that way.
Do you feel bitter and angry, and do you feel disappointed and hurt towards Zimbabwe cricket for a lot of things that have happened?
Oh, I don't. Loveness always says that she has never met anyone that moves on as smoothly as I do. I understand in life that, just having a look at how my life has gone, I understand that I'm needed in a lot of places. And because of that, I do not take anything to heart. So what the things that would have happened or things that would have transpired in Zimbabwe cricket, I see that as Zimbabwe cricket's loss, not my loss. Because I can easily go to another place and fit in and give my expertise to them, which I'm doing in the UK at the moment. The only slight disappointment there is that I'm not able to pass my expertise to my country of birth. That's why you will hear about the academy. It's just me trying to give my little expertise, back to my country of birth.
Is it an academy for very small kids, for maturing kids? What can we actually expect from this academy?
Yeah, it's just everyone who wants to get better. Right. So it's anyone who still feels they can, who he or she feels they can get better, even if you come in.
My gosh, that would be interesting.
Yeah, so that's it's really just just trying to make sure that he or she reaches their full potential.
Tiba, obviously we need to wrap it up because we'll talk cricket all day, but I'm now going to play devil's advocate because that's what so I would suggest to you, if you wanted to see your son play, Why could he not just have had a look on YouTube and watch Dad play on YouTube, as opposed to making a point, getting a lot of people, including your little ones, hopes up by coming back and by playing first-class cricket, but then possibly not to continue to play for the country again? What would you say if somebody were to ask you that?
Well, someone did ask me that.
Okay.
Yes, you see, there are two. I think there are 2 videos or 3 videos or something like that on YouTube.
Not enough.
Of me playing an innings, or otherwise just a few clips here and there. Because remember, I'm ancient, I didn't. So this is not. Those are the days where it wasn't really covered as well as it is being covered now. So yes, there are he's got a couple of videos of me playing. I think one innings against New Zealand and one innings against, against Kenya, if I'm not mistaken.
So here's another devil's advocate question. If you say that, there are barriers between yourself and Zimbabwe cricket, which may possibly prevent you from coming back and playing international cricket, but then if you say that it's Zimbabwe cricket's loss, not my loss, if you wanted to play cricket, then those barriers, surely they wouldn't be a problem, and that you would just focus on the future if you don't harbor any anger, disappointment, or anything towards Zimbabwe cricket. Could those barriers not be put aside in order for you to once again represent your country of birth?
Well, the barriers are not the ones to prevent me from playing. But the barriers are there to entertain the thought of me, coming to play. Because what I do when I'm making decisions is I try to stretch my thought at every stage up to the end. So when I'm stretching my thought to the end, if I see any barriers, I must be able to overcome those barriers in my mind first, before I actually go on the ground. Because when I hit the ground rolling, I hit to the end. You know me, Dean. When I make a decision, I make a decision, yes, and I do not stop until I get to the end. So that is the part that I'm talking about. The entertaining of that thought first is what I have to go through in my mind, because there are a lot of things to consider. We made a decision to move to the UK because I thought I would give a good education to my boys, because TJ wants to be a neurosurgeon. So I thought, well, let me take him to a school that I believe will be able to assist him in his dream, just the same way as a lot of people made decisions for me to realize my dream. I should be able to do that for my boys. So we made a decision to move to the UK. And if I'm going to start to entertain the thought of maybe playing for my country again, I have to think about where we're going to be staying and things like that. And does that hinder this, that, and the other? And having looked at all that, I also have to look at, okay, how, with where we've left with Zimbabwe cricket, how we get back, to the sitting ground to start to speak about how we're going to move on without revisiting what has transpired. Because what transpired last has never really been dealt with, if I'm to be honest, because it just happened. Because I move on, I just moved on. But I know a lot because I was part of the senior management team. So the things that people may not know outside, I know because I was inside. And
we will read that in the book?
That was really just too recent. We just had to add one more chapter. But yes, some of it definitely is there.
Fascinating interview by a fascinating man. Tatenda Taibu starting off the interview talking about his upcoming book called Keeper of Faith, which will be released on the 23rd of May. But you can pre-order it on Amazon. So get those fingers clicking and ticking and make sure that you get your copy of Keeper of Faith. I think it's going to be a fascinating read, and it'll be good to see of all the things that he talks about, not just the controversial side of things, but just his life story in a book, which is always a good thing. Right, moving on then. So 1999, 20 years ago, was an incredibly good World Cup for Zimbabwe. The World Cup gets underway on the 30th of May in England, and it was 20 years ago that the last World Cup was played in England, and Zimbabwe had a very good time of it. One of the players for Zimbabwe, if not arguably Zimbabwe's player of the World Cup was Neil Johnson. And I was able to catch up with Neil Johnson, who was more than happy to share some of the happy memories that he had of the World Cup back in 1999.
Gee, we have some memories there, but it feels like it was the other day, man. It really does. It doesn't feel like 20 years. Can you imagine 20 years? It's sure, yeah. And I live in the UK now, and it's hell of exciting this side, knowing that the World Cup's coming back here, and there's a lot of chat about it, and it was a massive time in our lives, and we had a whole lot of fun. I can assure you that.
So some of the times that really must stand out for you would obviously be the win over India when Henry Olonga dramatically snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. And then, of course,
wasn't that brilliant? What a game that was. That was at Leicester, at Grace Road.
Yes, absolutely.
That was amazing. We didn't play particularly well, but Henry, I think Alistair just suddenly said he doesn't know who to give the ball to. We had all bowled pretty badly, and suddenly I think Henry was the only guy. So he just threw him the ball, and suddenly Henry took a few. We took a few catches, and bang, we won the game. That was absolutely amazing. And then we celebrated well that night.
Well, and with great reason and a good cause as well. I would imagine the game that really stands out for you personally would be the match against South Africa, because obviously your innings of 70 odd that you got, 3 wickets. That must have been, been amazing.
It does, Dina. That obviously was a great game for us, and I did play quite well. And again, some of my mates were, I grew up a lot in South Africa as well, so it was nice. But really, the one that stands out is when you play at Lord's. It doesn't matter how you play, just to walk onto that ground and walk through the change rooms and that long room and all that. I still think it's the greatest place to play, and that will always stand out, the Lord's match.
I would like to talk a bit more about that South Africa game, because some of the people who you played against, Sean Pollock, Lance Klusener, Jonty Rhodes, specifically Jonty Rhodes, probably more so than Pollock and Klusener because they're a bit younger than Jonty. But what was it like you played with them for what was then Natal and obviously now the Dolphins, and now suddenly you're up against very, very good teammates, and you had to kind of put all of that aside and take South Africa on and in a very aggressive brand of cricket, because that's how South Africa, played their game of cricket. Was it easy for you to do? Was it a challenge that you relished?
No, see, I relished that. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to show them that I could actually play. I think we got them on a good day because I think they had just played Holland, because when they played Holland, they played in Holland, I think it was. And then they came back to the UK to play the next round, and it was us. And all their wives and girlfriends had just arrived. So they were playing against us when maybe they weren't quite focused, and we were very focused. We're like the small brother to South Africa, and we really wanted to show them that we were all right, and we caught them on the hop, and we managed to sneak through. And it was a great day as well. It was a hot day, in fact, and we played some hell of a good cricket. Okay. And I got stuck in there, and it was nice. You're playing against your mates, and you want to do well, but you want to show them, So we did. We were the little brothers that really got stuck into the big guys.
And what was it, because you and Grant Flower got Zimbabwe off to a good start, an opening stand of just over 50, and you and Murray Goodwin were able to continue the momentum, you and Andy Flower as well. I remember in particular one shot that Andy Flower hit off Alan Donald, a very straight 6, which is, you just never heard of Alan Donald being hit straight back over his head for 6 in those days. But then it came to the bowling, and you opened the bowling in this particular World Cup. Was there any particular, were you swinging the ball more than or better than the rest of the Zimbabwean attack? What was the reason for you opening the bowling and doing so well?
I know they kept giving me the ball. I did swing the ball quite nicely, and that year that white reader, I think it was, really did swing. And I just ran in and it swung, and I actually got a bit lucky because I got a good outswinger going, and I nicked off. Who would I nick off first?
You got Gary
Who was it?
Kirsten.
Oh, Gary Kirsten, left-hander.
Yeah, one that
and I
bounced,
got it
caught in the
swing and jump back at him quite nicely.
Yeah.
And rose on him, but a very good catch by Andy Whittle in the gully.
Yeah.
So that was the first ball that I got, that I bowled, first ball of the match, and bang, I got him out. Then came in, I think it was Jacques.
Yes.
And I just got a beautiful outswinger going, and Jacques just nicked it off. And I can't remember who caught that. Was it caught keeper or caught first slip? But it was a beauty. And then I fluked it. I got one. I tried to swing it out to Hansi, and it actually swung back in slightly.
Bowled him.
I don't know why. The ball just misbehaved and it bowled him. Yeah, so I did. I got the ball to swing that day. I think I went for a few runs. I don't think even Alistair brought me back on to bowl because he knows I was going for runs. But I did manage to pick up those three up front quickly. So we had them in a lot of trouble. But then Lance started batting beautifully, like he did the whole of that series. And
Yes, he did.
Lance Klusener started getting them close to winning it, but the boys bowled brilliantly down the middle. I think Adam Huckle, I don't think he picked up a wicket, but he went for no runs. He was excellent. And slowly we chipped away, and we snuck in with, I think, caught Alan Donald at mid-off. I think he streak caught him on extra cover.
Yeah, he
to win
took the catch off the bowling of Henry Alonga. Yeah, that's right. And so was there a point when you as the players got together and said, hey, hang on a bit, we can actually win this, guys? Do you realize that if we keep our heads, we can actually win this game?
I think we snuck in a few results against South Africa, and I don't think we ever thought we're just going to arrive at this game, at any game against them, and just lose. You know, I think inside us, we knew that they were better than us, but if we did our thing properly, a few of us performed really well, we could actually beat them anytime. And one day cricket's like that, you know, you get a couple of good players on a roll and you get under a lot of pressure and suddenly the game goes away from you. And we managed to do that. And you just spoke about Andy hitting Alan Donald back over his head for 6. Andy was brilliant. Listen, he controlled everything. He allowed us other batsmen to bat with a bit more freedom, and he took a lot of pressure off us. Andy was the main guy, and the opposition knew that, and so they maybe focused on him, and we were able to sneak in with a few runs behind that. But no, we were a good side. We had a good, top order, and that number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 was good and dangerous in one-day cricket. So we always believed we could beat them, but did we think we could beat them in the World Cup in such a crucial game? I don't know, but we did.
You certainly did. And did after you beat South Africa and when it was confirmed that you were going through to the Super Sixes, did the mindset of the team change? Surely you then would have gained even more positivity and more momentum as you went into that Super Six stage.
I think we were just riding such a wave, and I don't think we changed at all, because we celebrated each game, each victory, or each day. We had a great time. We had some real characters in the team, and we just went ahead and just kept on playing and playing and playing. We trained hard, but we just did the same thing. And yeah, we were actually very lucky to go through, but we went through, and I think we had something against New Zealand where the game got rained out, and that was enough for us actually to go through. I think it was. I can't even remember now. But it was hell of exciting, man, and we were a crazy bunch of boys from Zimbabwe and just really enjoying ourselves and just going for it. We didn't have any pressure on us. All the other teams had the pressure on them. They had to perform, and they knew if they didn't perform properly, us Zimbabweans, we could sneak in with a couple of wins.
On to Lords we go, Jono, where it really, unfortunately Zimbabwe lost that game, but it was a magnificent one-day game, wasn't it? What a game of one-day international cricket it was. Zimbabwe lost, and I guess fairly comfortably at the end, but the innings of 132 not out that you got against the Aussies, does that rate as the best individual performance in a Zimbabwean shirt?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. That was, no, not as an individual, but for myself, it was the best thing that I ever did, But just to play at Lords and to, like I said earlier, to walk through those change rooms, to see all those names on the board, and the whole thing about Lords is just magnificent. It is the best place, I think, to play, and you get goosebumps. And I was very lucky. I batted very well. I think I nicked off Glenn McGrath very early, and he didn't have a third slip. It went through there, and I could have been out for a duck. I was so nervous just to be there, but once I settled in, I think I hit him down the ground for a 4, straight down, Lords, and I still remember the ball rolling all the way down, and as it goes down the slope, a huge difference. You know, as you see it just slide down there, it was, wow, I've actually hit Glenn McGrath for 4, and I relaxed a lot more, and I just managed. I just kept going, and it just was amazing. And I had so many of the other boys helping me as I was going. We had a good partnership with Muzza Goodwin, and he just said, just keep going. And I hit a few off Shane Warne, and he was going through a few troubles at the time, so maybe he wasn't as focused as he could have been, but I still managed to get a few away off him. And I just kept going, and I just thought, wow, what is happening out here? And it was absolutely the best that feeling I've ever had on a cricket field. You know, blue sky, hot day, packed house, and the crowd started supporting us. You know, even the Australian supporters were supporting us because we were putting up such a magnificent fight. And it was great. And then, we lost, I know, so that's not as nice as winning, but individually it was, wow. I still love it. I still go down to Lords now, and I walk around there. Now it's beautiful, man.
All right, so that was Neil Johnson telling us some wonderful stories, especially the win over South Africa, and that would have been some of the players that he played against, as we alluded to in the interview: Sean Pollock, Lance Klusener, Jonty Rhodes. All of those played a lot of cricket with him at provincial level when he still played for what was then Natal, now of course known as the Dolphins. And suddenly to be up against Neil Johnson, who, by the way, just for the record, was born in Zimbabwe, and at the age of 9 years old, he and his family moved down to South Africa. So Neil played, obviously, the majority of his cricket there. But Pat Soncox often said to him in the dressing room, you know, you're a very good player, not necessarily good enough to be playing for South Africa. Why don't you consider going back to the country of your birth and playing for them? And he did from 1998 up until 2000, and put in a couple of very good performances at the top of the order, and more than useful with the ball, I beg your pardon, and of course very good in the field as well. So that is pretty much Dean at Stumps podcast for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget that this is also on YouTube now, so you can like, share and subscribe, and it'll always be good to hear from you. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back again pretty soon. And until then, it's goodbye.